Good morning, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be made available for viewing through our Council's website. Remote participants, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting. Write and speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. If you're in the hall, you can do this on your iPhone or iPad. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members, and no material should be posted in the chat function if it's intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time or write leave in the Teams chat function and then write join when you rejoin the meeting so that we can keep track on whether the meeting is quorate. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. We have important records to consider today, and I anticipate we will deal with business in our usual efficient manner. Firstly, we are joined at our meeting today by Marita Jameson-Barr. Marita is the newly appointed church representative, and we wish her a very warm welcome to the committee. Our committee process relies on challenge, debate and democracy, and Marita, I hope you're looking forward to playing your part in this in the months and years ahead. Welcome to the committee. Agenda item number 1, sediment apologies and Chair's approval of members' remote participation. Tracy, can you provide the sediment and any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. We've got 22 members present in total. 7 members present here in person at Council HQ, being the Chair, Councillor Dempster, Councillor Young, Julie Irvine, our teacher rep for primary schools, Lisa Vinnie, our parent council rep for secondary school, Marcia Emily Jameson-Barr, our church representative, and Louise Church from the Youth Council. We've got 15 members present on Microsoft Teams, being Councillors Brodie, Councillor Dashbar, Councillor Davis, Councillor Hill, Councillor Ingalls, Councillor Maureen Johnston, Councillor Lowe, Councillor McGregor, Councillor McCammon, Councillor Marshall, Councillor Walters, Councillor Wilson, Stuart Clement, our teacher rep for secondary, Anne Barber, church rep, and Robert McQuiston, church rep on Microsoft Teams. We've got 4 members not present at the start, being Councillor Dougie Campbell, Councillor Karen Crothers, Councillor Scobie, and another Youth Council representative. And I've got 2 apologies, one from Vice Chair, Councillor Jameson, and one from Councillor Emma Jordan. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Tracy. Agenda item 2, declaration of interest. Do any member have a declaration of interest they wish to make, or indeed a statement of connection? Okay, so minute for previous meeting, 1st of July 2025 for approval. Do members approve? Thank you. So agenda item number 4, outside bodies. Are members currently appointed to the outside bodies detailed in the report happy to continue? We have Fraser Davis here to assist if members have any questions. Councillor Dempster.
Only one, Chair, and it's an unusual one. It's on page 25, 4.10.2 about appointments to the Free Educational Trust. You will see there's a representative required from the Sanker area, and I know from the papers prepared for tomorrow that I'm in the Nithsdale Area Committee delegate, or one of 2, but it'll be in the Chair's hands tomorrow and in members' hands whether or no I remain there. So I would like to remain on the DET, and I don't know whether, and I might leave it in officers' hands, whether I'm simply appointed today if members are content with that, or whether I leave it to tomorrow in the hope that I remain, and that would be in, I say, in members' hands tomorrow. So there is a requirement for someone from Sanker to be represented, or looking after the Sanker area, to be represented on the DET. And I'm the only member on this committee who fits that bill. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Dempster. As you can see, I mean, I haven't got any indication that the three current, Councillor Richard Brodie, Pauline Stevenson and Callum Wilson, wish to come off. We also have 3 vacancies, so there is room for, so either way, we have vacancies, so it's not as if you were, if you went on here, you wouldn't be, it wouldn't be stopping the ability of anyone else to be on, if you understand, as well as being on this Still committee.
I understand that, Chair. It's just that if I didn't ask today and some other members who were on the Still Area Committee asked for and got the 2 appointments, it would mean I'd be excluded, and I would prefer to, I've been there since I became a councillor, and prefer to continue if that were possible.
You prefer to make sure you stay on in some way or another. So you'd like to be added to that today. That's fine, Councillor Dempster.
Thank you.
So do we have any indication that members that are currently on it, as I said, Councillor, for that one there, do members wish me to go through them all, just to make sure everyone is aware? Oh, Councillor, who's it? Oh, Councillor Lowe.
I'm in a similar position. Sorry, I'm in a similar position. This will also come up at Nithsdale, and I'm keen to get back on. So whether it's through education or through Nithsdale area, so I'd be on from the Stewart Tree area.
So is that the Dumfriesshire Educational Trust you're talking about, Councillor Lowe?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Councillor Brodie?
Yeah, I'm happy to continue on the Fisher Educational Trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brodie. Fraser, can I hand over to you? Do you want to go through them all? That would probably be better, and just make sure that members are happy to stay on, or if indeed, as we've indicated, there's a couple who'd like to go on.
No, thanks, Chair. So the Local Employability and Skills Partnership, there's a vacancy on that. Would any member like to fill that?
I think, Gillian just reminded me, I think that Councillor Jameson had indicated. So I'm putting him on.
That's fine. Councillor Maureen Johnson is currently the substitute to the Employability Skills Partnership. Just double check, is Councillor Johnson happy to continue? I believe so, but just thought I'd double check.
Yes, thank you. I'm quite happy to continue on that. Thank you.
Okay, so Educational Trust, kind of covered already. Councillor Brodie, Stevenson, Wilson have to continue. Councillor Dempster, yes, either through today or tomorrow. We'll work it out, whichever way around that works. And then finally, the Dumfries and Galloway Region-wide Community Fund Management Committee. We've got Councillor Maureen Johnston appointed currently and Councillor Lynn Davis as the substitute. Just to double check, are those two happy to continue with that?
Thank you.
Councillor Lowe
Yes.
would like to come in as well.
Thank you. I think those positions were given to us as Chair and Vice Chair in the Education and Skills Community and Wellbeing Committee. Do you want us to remain in these positions, or would you like to go to the Chair and Vice Chair of the committee? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. These are not a real requirement for the Chair and Vice Chair. I'm happy to take it, but I'm also happy if you wish to remain on that.
I'm quite happy to remain on it, yes. It's quite an interesting one. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Lowe.
I noticed that one of the reps is Paula Stevenson, but she's no longer on education. So is that correct?
No, thanks, Councillor. No, so that is correct for this meeting only. I believe the intention is for the Councillor to return to Education Committee at the next meeting, so it's just a temporary change. Sorry
about that. There's always one. Sorry, Tracy, yeah?
Thanks, Chair. Just going back to Dumfries Educational Trust, I know, Councillor Lowe, that you were interested in that one. At Nithsdale tomorrow, the members will be considering whether to remain with Councillor Dempster and Councillor Hislop. So you weren't one of the two that were already on by Nithsdale Area Committee. So if you would like us to put you on to fill one of those vacancies today, we can certainly do that through education. And then whether we want to fill the other two vacancies, I'll leave that to members to discuss.
Since I'm really keen to do it, yes, I'm happy to go on today.
No, I think that, yep, so got that, Councillor Lowe. That would still leave the two vacancies for this committee. I suppose, is the committee happy to leave those vacant? Nope, that's fine. I think that's us run through them all now. That's us good to go, I think.
Thank you for that. Got Councillor Wilson would like to speak.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to say that I'd like to stay on and just to confirm that Fraser's correct. Councillor Stevenson's just not available for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. So that's us. I think we've filled as much as we're going to fill. So, okay, so I'll go to recommendations then. So members were asked to note the information detailed in appendices 1 to 3 as part of the 2024-25 annual review of outside bodies. 2, appoint one elected member to the local employability and skills partnership and advise of any amendments to the existing substitute appointment as detailed in 4.9. Appoint 3 elected members to the Dumfriesshire Educational Trust and advise of any amendments to the current appointments, and advise of any amendments to the current appointments to the Dumfries and Galloway Regional Community Fund Management Committee. So we move on to agenda item 5, Community Learning and Development Partners Plan 2025 to 27, report by Executive Director Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing. Do we have Stephen Jack? Oh, we've Stephen Jack online to assist if members have any questions. Do you have anything to add to the report, Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Just a very brief overview for members' interest that the plan itself and the partnership is really the coordination point for all CLD activity covered through the statutory regulations, and it's subject to periodic external inspection through Education Scotland. So whilst the plan itself has unique elements to it, particularly in relation to adults and families, volunteering and workforce, for example, it draws together the wider CLD activity that's covered through areas such as the Place Planning Partnership, the Local Employability Partnership, and also elements of the Youth Work Strategy. So when we do get called for an inspection, it's always the CLD partnership that's the go-to point for inspectors, and that's where everything needs to come in as one. It's been in establishment for 10 years now, and it's got a really good. It's not just the council, obviously. It's third sector, Dumfries and Galloway, the college, Skills Development Scotland, Health, NHS, and a range of voluntary partners and organisations. So the strengths in the partnership, and that's been the mainstay over the last 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. So I'll open the meeting to members' debate. Any members have any questions or comments? Councillor Lowe.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wonder how much of a mention there is in the programme of digital learning, given the height and the breadth of our region, but also some of the connectivity problems. Are there opportunities that we still need to develop, but what actually is included already?
Could you answer that, Stephen?
Yes, no problem, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Yes, digital, as you see from the plan, we've highlighted that for extra attention through the next 2 years. There's already a range of activity that happens through the council and voluntary partners and CLD partners, such as digital drop-ins, support for people being safe online, completing digital forms, setting up email addresses, access to devices, for example. But what we've found as a partnership is it needs to be better coordinated. You know, there's not a clear digital skills map for the region, for the community, in terms of if someone needs assistance, where can they go to? So whilst there's Castle Douglas IT is, you know, a great voluntary example, and they've got quite a wide reach as well, but it needs to be pulled better together and promoted as such. So we had a CLD partnership meeting only last week, and that was one of the agreed actions. And third sector Dumfries and Galloway have agreed to work with myself and partners to take that forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Are you satisfied with that answer, Councillor Lowe?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's great.
Councillor Walters.
Thanks very much, Chair. Can I just ask a question on the table on page 38, which is slightly confusing. I'm not sure whether this is to do with national sort of guidelines as to how these things are reported. But the table at the top is split into two columns. It says individuals age 0 to 15 and individuals age 15 plus. And then in the objectives for the ages 0 to 15, the first one says securing a job. Which seems a surprising objective for the 0 to 15-year-olds, and also using social media. So, can somebody just clarify why the split is between 0 and 15 and then 15 plus? I can understand that that's a good change moment, but it just seems a bit. It's quite a scope from 0-year-olds to 15-year-olds. And then to be putting securing a job, confidence building, seems a bit strange, actually. So can somebody just clarify that for me, please?
Thank you, Councillor Walters. Stephen?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Walters. Yeah, no, I appreciate that it's maybe not clear enough within the table. When we did the consultation surveys, and for individuals, there was 466 returns, and at least half of those were from young people. So we split the definition, I suppose the national definition of children is 15 and under, and then it's young people 16 and over. So that's why we did a split and tried to do a bit more of an analysis in terms of, you know, those two very distinct different groups. I understand, you know, the observation about securing a job coming up high. I would maybe need to look in a bit more detail, but I'm assuming it's particularly even that 14, 15-year-old age group who will be looking for part-time jobs, part-time work, and that side of things. And I know that happens, you know, across the region and within communities. So I would suggest that's probably why, but I can do a bit more detailed checking on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Are you happy with that response, Councillor Walters?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Young.
Well, thank you, Chair. And thank you, Stephen, for bringing the Castle Douglas IT Centre into your response. We're very fortunate in the Stewardship having this excellent community asset, although they are a bit struggling financially at the moment. I quite often go to, let's say, people my age, there's whist and bridge clubs. And you speak to people during their tea breaks, and it's not laptops or securing a job. You quite often find that their children or their loved ones have bought them a modern mobile iPhone or something, and they say, I don't know how to use it, it's just stuck in a drawer. So as well as improving IT skills on laptops and desktops, is there any possibility of bringing in courses on how to use modern iPhones, especially nowadays? A lot of these iPhones register faults, etc., and can call it emergency service. So just another aspect, Stephen, perhaps you could look at.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Stephen?
Yeah, no, thank you, Councillor Young. Yeah, absolutely. There has been a bit of interest in that area, so we're actively developing a support package for that, because it is on the increase, and I completely understand where you're coming from. So that is in hand. Thank you.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Young?
Yes, thank you, Stephen.
Councillor Marshall.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's really just at the bottom of page 36 to commend the department for the areas of best practice identified, they namely being the support to young people experience low-level mental health issues in schools, CAT transfers, and of course the continued good work of youth work service and the staff and volunteer pathways. So it's really just to commend SCLD for those.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment, Councillor Marshall. Do we have any other questions from members? Okay, we'll go to recommendations. Members were asked to note the recommendations stemming from the National Independent Review of Community Learning and Development, as detailed in Appendix 1. Note and consider the new National Community Learning and Development Indicators and Outcomes, as detailed in Appendix 2. Note the Community Learning and Development Progress Visit Return from Dumfries and Galloway, as detailed in Appendix 3. Consider the findings from the Community Learning and Development Plan Surveys, as detailed in Appendix 4. Agree the findings of the Equalities Impact Assessment, as detailed in Appendix 5. Consider and agree the Community Learning and Development Evaluative Report from 2021 to 24, as detailed in Appendix 6. And consider and agree the new Community Learning and Development Plan for 2025 to 27, as detailed in Appendix 7. So we move to agenda item number 6, tackling antisocial behaviour, corporate contribution to Work Plan 2024-25 and draft Work Plan 25-26. And we've Martin Ogilvie here to assist if members have any questions. Do you have anything to add, Martin?
Nothing, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So I'll open to members' debate. Do members have any questions, comments? Councillor Dashford.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning. I'm looking at page 141. We've got a lot of useful statistics there. It's good to see all the numbers, which really breaks it down, I think. But looking at the mediation little box at the bottom of the page there, and so there were 87 offers of mediation, but only 10 people or offers were taken up. That's quite a gap there. So I'm just wondering if, Martin, you can maybe speak to that. You know, it's good that we're offering this service, but I'm just wondering why people aren't necessarily taking the council up on it when the service is offered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dasfer. Martin?
Yep, thank you for the question. Just to clarify, of course, it's not 10 people that are accepting, it's 10 double parties. So what we do is we offer mediation. Mediation tends to be between neighbours who are in dispute, and we need both parties to agree to do that. So we will make multiple offers. We will also make multiple attempts to find sometimes neutral facilities and time and dates that suit, including evenings and weekends. But often, despite repeated attempts, there'll be one party will decide to pull out, and we can't obviously mediate with just one party. We need both parties to agree. So there's not often the same success rate we would hope for to try and find a common solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Are you content with that? Okay, thank you. Councillor Keith Walters.
Thanks, Chair. On page 137, 4.1, it mentions the things that the team has transferred out of the following services during this year. So I just wanted to check to see what. So it says one of the following services has been transferred out is the enforcement of council-owned discontrolled car parks. I know I'm quite new to this committee, so when this was decided, where did we decide that the enforcement of council-owned discontrolled car parks would go to if it's not being run, if it's not being enforced by the community safety team? I know that we've got parking wardens coming, but they've not, as far as I understand, they've not come yet. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Walters. Martin?
That particular change, we moved the enforcement of parking across to the road service. That was part of the Chief Executive's report on reshaping the council on the 4th of October 2 years ago.
Are you happy with that response?
So yeah, sorry, to clarify, then it is the road's responsibility for the enforcement. Is that what you said, sorry?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Councillor Marshall.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, again, it's on page 141, the performance indicators for 2024-25. I think it's quite encouraging, some of these. And obviously, I think I'm picking out 3, that fly tipping, there was fixed penalty notices, 15 issued, dog fouling, 20 enforcement actions, and littering, there was 41 fixed penalty notices. I just as a member, but probably I just wonder, obviously these issues blight the whole of our region, and I'm just wondering if it can be sent out with the meeting, maybe how the spread of that across the locations, if that's possible, a little bit more breakdown on those and where those offences were carried out and penalised.
Yeah, we gather that information down to ward level, and it's the ambition of the team within the next quarter that all that information will be made available publicly and openly via the Council's webpage on a portal that will allow anyone, including members, to search a period of time and a geographic area and get all the data that we hold. But certainly we currently capture that and have done for a number of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Are you happy with that response?
Yeah, thanks, Martin, and yeah, I look forward to that. And even if we could be sent the link, etc., for the upcoming one, and also any kind of historical information from last year.
We're getting a nod here, Councillor Marshall. Councillor Young, were you wanting in here?
Yes, please, Chair, briefly. Again, it's in dog fouling. And I know several years ago, in response to a dog fouling complaint, the council would send a couple of safety officers out in an unmarked van and a camera if the incident occurred regularly, to photograph and then charge these people. Are we still able to do that, or has Cuts done away with that type of excellent service, shall we say?
I think that partially happens. I don't think we've ever deployed cameras to photograph people. We don't need to do that if we've got an officer. A competent officer can enforce without taking photographs. They just need to witness it. What we do encourage elected members and the public to do is to use the Report It tool on the Council's webpage, and that's anonymous, and that encourages the person reporting to give us details, particularly if there's a repeat offence. Often dog walkers are creatures of habit, and if there's a repeat offence, then we will do our best to make sure there's officers in that vicinity at the time to issue an enforcement ticket.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Dempster.
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of questions on both on page 141. Abandoned vehicles investigated 320. How many perpetrators did we identify? Because you usually use VIN numbers, etc. And is there a penalty imposed? Because there's no indication on here what that might be. And on the dog fouling issue, which I'm not surprised all members are talking about this, because it's one of the blights on our society, and even the ones that are complaints, is only 1 in 10 or less than 1 in 10 resolved. Most communities nowadays have CCTV, and the police can use CCTV as a means of not only identifying crime but of prosecuting crime. Why do we not engage or use the police? Because the biggest complaints is bad enough in public parks and grounds surrounding towns, but in town centres itself, it's terrible with kids and parents wandering through this, and it's a constant sometimes. I don't understand why we can't take a more aggressive and proactive approach to deal with dog fouling, because we have the tools that we can use. They're funded by the public purse. We should do everything we can to use that equipment to prosecute, if necessary, offenders. Thanks, Chair.
If it's okay, I'll answer the second part first. In terms of the response to the dog fouling, the law requires the perpetrator to be witnessed by a community safety officer. And of course, even although there is CCTV, it would require hours and hours of staff time to watch the CCTV, which we don't have, and there's no national database for us to identify individuals anyway. So the law does require us to witness it, and that's the only way we can prosecute a perpetrator. In terms of the second part, which was the question about abandoned vehicles, the success rate with abandoned vehicles tends to be that there is no money in scrap vehicles anymore. So we have an arrangement with Fleet, and they will remove abandoned vehicles, hold it for 28 days while we try to identify the named owner, and we would work through the DVLA. There are other agencies if there's repeat offences, but it's very unlikely to find evidence that means we can give that to the DVLA for them to prosecute.
You want to come back in, Councillor Dempster?
Only in the point Martin raised about dog fouling. The police will not have a database if I assault somebody and it's captured on video, but they'll be able to identify who I am because of the images. And I think it's maybe something, not for Martin to do, but maybe something the council should be doing to try and find a way of ensuring that these images can be used for identification purposes and prosecution. Otherwise, we're just allowing folk to continue doing what they've always done, and in my view, it's not acceptable. That's no Martin's problem, but it's just a personal opinion I have.
Thank you for that, Councillor Dempster. I think it's a bugbear for every single, not just the council, but every member of the whole of the constituency, the whole of the region, whole of Scotland, whole of UK, whole of the world. To be honest with you, it's a dreadful blight on our communities.
Somebody has to lead in it, Chair, and I think it should be us.
I agree. Any other questions or comments? In that case, can I bring something in, Martin, if you don't mind? I see that I don't see any mention of our youth councillors. So are we including their engagement because there is power in the youth, leading the youth, and we have excellent youth councillors, so it would be wonderful to bring them in on this.
Thank you, Chair. And I did reach out to Laura Kilty yesterday, our youth development worker and lead for the Youth Council. And she explained that the Youth Council set up with ward and locality groups, and they have regular informal discussions on antisocial behaviour on a regular basis, and many of the wards have taken on specific actions to focus on litter, street lighting, community safety, and trying to find more opportunities for youth work to get engaged and divert people away from antisocial behaviour. So there is regular discussion on that.
Thank you for that, because I mean, youth work is mentioned throughout the paper, it's just not youth councillors, but if they're already engaging with youth work regarding this.
Given that comment, I think what we'll do is we'll liaise with youth work who do a substantive input to the report, and we'll make sure that next year in our next annual report there's more explicit mention of the activities and the engagement that takes place with the Youth Council throughout the year.
That'd be excellent. Thank you very much, Martin. So no other questions or comments, so we'll go to recommendations. Members are asked to, 1, note the Community Safety Team performance information for 24-25, note the corporate contribution to the Antisocial Behaviour Work Plan, and agree the Dumfries and Galloway Antisocial Behaviour Work Plan 25-26. Agenda item number 7, Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing Revenue Budget Monitoring 25-26 for the period end 30th of June 25, quarter 1. Now we have Colin Pentland and Marcus El-Sadi are here to assist if members have any questions. Do you have anything to add, gents? And I see Stephen White, apologies. I did not look up on the screen, so apologies.
That's not a problem, thank you.
So we've Colin and Stephen. So anything to add, gentlemen?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to highlight with regards to the table under section 4.2 that the split in relation to the 4.8 million applied for the SJC pay award and national insurance increase is that 2 million of this is for the SJC pay award, and the 2.8 million is in relation to national insurance, and that the national insurance covers both the increase for the teaching and the SJC staff. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Colin. So members have any questions? Councillor Marshall.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's really just a comment on the 2025-26 agreed savings. After being at the the E&I committee last week when we got a similar report which showed that of the £1 million identified in budget savings, it was forecast we were only to achieve about half that total of about £500,000. So I think it's quite encouraging to see in Appendix 2 that we have already managed to secure the bulk of the savings, 1.7 million, 7.5 million, and also of the 76,000 that's still to be saved, we're on track for that. So again, it's encouraging to see that. I know some of them, like the impact of the school roll, would happen anyways, but it's encouraging to see the amount of savings that have been secured so far this financial year.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. I think that's a comment rather than a question. Do you have anything to add to that, gentleman? No? No, thank you for that, Councillor Marshall. Any other members have questions? Councillor Young.
Thank you, Chair. I wonder, looking at 4.2 on page 168, I wonder if you would be good enough to expand on the £391,000 spent in PPP and DBFM contract uprating. Could you explain what that means, please?
Someone, Colin, Stephen, who would like to take that one?
Yes, certainly. I'll take that one if that's okay, Chair. Based on the contracts that we have in place with the PPP and the DBFM, the contracts allow for an uprating requirement. So it's based on the retail price index in February of every year. And once we get that information, that's what we uprate the contracts we have every financial year. And it's as part of the set contracts when both PPP and DBFM schools were set when they were agreed. I hope that's okay. Thank you.
Are you content with that,
Just probe a wee bit further. So you can expect that to be an ongoing funding adjustment due to the effects of inflation on these contracts around about, and obviously the higher the inflation, the higher the contract uprating figure will be. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. As part of the budget setting process that's undertaken every year, that's taken forward as part of the full council budget, we do look at the current retail price indexes, and we do project what we think it will be in the February time, because obviously the budget's set and it is round about the February time, so it is sometimes difficult to anticipate exactly what it is. We do make an allowance for what we anticipate it is, and that is brought into the budget setting every year. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from members? No? Okay, then we'll go to recommendations. Members are asked to note the budget realignment that has been undertaken with the Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing Services management team to ensure that the budgets reflected for each service function represents planned income and expenditure levels for the year ahead. 2, that the information from the detailed budget realignment has been reviewed in conjunction with the Q1 monitoring information and highlighted that it is estimated that the Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing Directorate would return a break-even position at the end of the financial year, and progress against the delivery of agreed savings applied to the Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing budget in 2025-26. Agenda item number 8, additional Scottish Government ASL funding, report by Executive Director Education. Hugh Smith and Jim Brown, we just have Hugh. Hugh Smith is here to assist members, and this is a breakdown. This was a request in the last meeting for further information about the breakdown of the 718,000 Scottish Government ASL funding. Much appreciated for this updated report. Do you have anything to add to it at all, Hugh?
Nothing to add, Chair. Thank you.
So do members have any questions on this? I think members are quite satisfied with that report. Hugh? Oh, no, wait, no.
I just put that in after, sorry.
All right.
Sorry, I've got my hands up. I've had my hand missed once already today for some reason.
Your hand's not coming up, Councillor Lowe. I
Sorry,
I really
did my
apologise for
Sorry.
that, but it's there's no. But anyway, Councillor Lowe, you wish to come in anyway.
Yeah, certainly welcome the initiative, but given the problems that we have with recruiting and maybe staff at the right level with the training, how are we going to deal with that in terms of maybe existing staff who wish to retrain or to actually attract people into these jobs?
Hugh?
Thank you, Chair. We have a programme in place in terms of for learning assistants about upskilling and recruitment. This is a long-standing piece of work that's looking at the contracts, roles and responsibilities, trying to create a differentiated responsibilities. And we are in a very difficult competitive market with all businesses out there in terms of trying to recruit, and we know that that has been a pressure for us for the last few years, particularly coming out of COVID. So we're trying to make the job as attractive as possible. It's a challenging job. Any job in a school is really challenging. We have to be upfront about that, but it's a really incredibly rewarding job, and I think we do get that feedback from colleagues regularly, that actually the opportunities that they're given in terms of more recently a real focus on professional training opportunities, increasing the opportunities to access those training and skills. So I suppose it's an ongoing process of trying to be more competitive in terms of being what is the general offer, but it is difficult and it's not necessarily equitable across the region. We have hotspots where we really struggle. The East is a particular challenge for us because we're competing with lots of other businesses and lots of other opportunities. But again, it's just that constant, promotion of the role, responsibilities. We often talk about the challenges in terms of learning assistance, but actually it is a very rewarding job for most of our colleagues, doing a very difficult job, working closely in partnership with our teachers as well. So it's just that ongoing promotion, I suppose, would be the answer to Councillor Lowe. And I think the members as well being able to voice that there is a career here. We have recently seen colleagues that have come in as learning assistants that have moved through and are progressing through other grades within supporting learners, and will and some obviously go on to be teachers as well. So there are opportunities here for career progression as well as a very fulfilling job. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. Are you content with that response, Councillor Lowe?
Thank you. It's a start. I think we just as members also need to be aware, if we know people that we can encourage, we've all got to do our bit.
Thank you, and thank you, Hugh. So, any other questions from members? Councillor Young.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome 4.8 on page 176 with 3 new learning centres, each taking up to 10 children, and I see the breakdown of staff costs. I'm wondering if there's been expenditure to make these learning centres more welcoming, softer, quieter, peaceful areas to enable a different atmosphere from your typical secondary or primary classrooms. Has there been money spent upgrading these facilities in terms of making them more comfortable for the learning experience of these children?
Thank you, Councillor Young. Hugh?
Absolutely. A significant programme in a very short period of time has taken place, and not just in the 3 new learning centres, also expanding the capacity in other learning centres. Northwest Community Campus is a good case in point. So absolutely funding had been identified, which was a general uplifting and uprating of the provision of our learning centres, and for this year we prioritised specifically the expansion of our capacity. So I know that colleagues worked tirelessly over the summer in some instances to actually make sure that the children coming in for that first time had that sense of this is different, this is a different environment, much more set up in terms of what we need to create that more learning experience, the reality that our children are not necessarily able to settle to learn as easily. And I think that if members are in schools and have the opportunity to look at some of the new learning centre provision, would be really rewarded by that opportunity to see the investment that's gone in. And a key message always is for families and for children is, that we're evidencing the value that we have in terms of being able to provide that quality experience, both in terms of the learning and teaching, but also in terms of the environment.
That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Young, and thanks, Hugh. Any other questions from members? No? Okay, then we'll go to recommendations. Members are asked to note the breakdown of spend for additional support for learning funding allocation for 2026. And we've done just that. Thank you, Hugh. On to item number 9, considerations for a strategic rural education plan report by Executive Director, Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing. We have Alison Chambers online and Lauren Foss here in the chambers to assist if members have any questions. Do you have anything to add at all?
Thank you, Chair. If I may, just to highlight that this paper is actually more around data and context, setting the scene for the paper that will come to members in November, which will capture a whole breadth of detail around our learning and state strategy, which will contain an element specifically around the rurality nature of our authority. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. So, members have any questions? Councillor Dempster.
Just one an observation, Chair. On page 202, 4.4, fourth bullet point, Doon, it talks about remote rural areas and talks about areas with a population. Surely that should be described as catchment areas or community council areas rather than just areas, because it's not specific. The area could be whatever someone wants to create, and I thought maybe identified areas would be more appropriate. And I think now, given this report, and I understand, Lauren, or there will be another report, a more comprehensive report later in the year, but we should now be placing more emphasis on the retention of remote rural schools, especially with the transport issues that have come to light recently in trying to get pupils to school. It's important that we retain these remote rural schools in their locations rather than try and ship kids elsewhere. So a question and an observation. I'm sure I'll come back later on with more views when Lauren's paper is brought forward later on, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Dempster. Lauren, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair. I'll probably answer the observation and avoid the question. The observation in terms of the categorisation, that's actually defined by Scottish Government. That's not within our gift to change the wording or the measure that's made. Every area across Scotland is measured in the same format, so we just tap into that. And actually the rurality in the list of schools comes from the Scottish Government. We don't produce that ourselves, so hopefully that explains that part of it. To come back to the question itself around rural schools and how we look and assess all of that, I think what we have is a process that will look at each school, each community, each setting in isolation and within its own context. So that protection is there within the processes that we have.
Look forward to that, Chair. And it was a remote rural school I was talking about.
So you're not needing to come back in then, Councillor Dempster? Thanks for the response, Lauren. Councillor Dashford.
Thanks, Chair. I'm looking at 4.4, page 202, which goes on about Scottish Government urban-rural classification process. I was contacted by a constituent who had concerns about the accuracy of the data in terms of this being present as of 2020, but not 2022, which is, so I'm told by the constituent anyway, the more up-to-date classification. I don't know if officers could just speak to the accuracy of that in terms of what, which year the data is accurate on as of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dashford. Lauren.
Thank you, Chair. The rurality list is from the 2024 information from the Scottish Government, but the values of pupil rolls is from our 2024 census from September last year. So values of pupil numbers and percentages may be slightly out compared to today, but we'll update that following September census this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Walters.
Thanks, Chair. Page 204, 4.13. The first sentence says, it's interesting that they're saying there's no significant difference in academic achievement between the various types of schools. And I just wonder if where the data is for that. Because as Lauren mentioned, this is the sort of data report. Because when I've sat through mothballing discussions and various other things, there's been quite an argument put forward that the smaller the school, it is more difficult to supply a curriculum which is as full as some of the larger primary schools. So it'd be interesting, for instance, to see, you know, the respective reading ages of people coming out of remote rural schools and people coming out of urban schools. Because what we seem to be saying there is that there isn't a significant difference between those types of schools.
Thank you, Councillor Walters. Alison, do you wish to come in on that?
I do. Thank you, Councillor. So when we talk about there's not a significant difference between our rural and our urban schools, that's because when we're looking at the data, we're looking at the literacy and numeracy data in our primary schools, whereas when we talk about curriculum, that's about that offer of the wider choice of the curriculum context and trying to make sure we're delivering all the capacities within the curriculum. So the data, we're really looking at literacy and numeracy because that's what we have for our P1s, P4s and P7s, which can compare school to school, and there isn't a significant difference. There's other factors, of course, which impact the outputs for young people, whereas when we talk about curriculum, that's really dependent on how many young people we've got and how we really manage the 4 capacities.
Thank you, Alison. Are you content with that response, Councillor Walters?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Greg Black wish to ask a question.
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks very much for the report. It was really clear and look forward to the update in November. It was just a question around 4.2.1 when it mentions the DG Schools Connect and the virtual learning campus. I'm just looking for some reassurance, I guess, that the skills needed for kids to engage with that learning campus will be embedded in the primary level, because I guess what we don't want to do is drop kids in when they go into, you know, academy and secondary. And I'm not aware that we do that in primary, so I'm just looking for reassurance that there is that kind of longer term plan to embed the skills necessary to engage with online learning in the kids as early as possible.
Thank you, Greg. Alison, do you wish to respond to that one?
Yeah, thank you for the question. What you'll find at the moment is there a digital strategy paper coming to Council to look at how we're delivering digital across our 3 to 18 curriculum offer. We're also looking at the improvement cycle and looking at digital literacy, although they're going to call it just digital, across our primaries and secondary. So it will absolutely be embedded in primary. So when they come to secondary, they are fully agile with the technology of that time, because we know technology is always changing.
Are you content with that response, Greg?
Yeah, certainly am, and I think just to add, if I may, not just the technology, but the confidence of the pupils as well to engage in those different environments, I think. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Greg. Louise Church?
Thank you very much, Chair. So Councillor Walters actually spoke on what I was going to speak on, but I thought I'd just throw it out anywhere. It's more of an observation, so the no significant difference with academic achievement. I just wanted to say that that's really reassuring. Just as a youth council point of view, it's really reassuring that it doesn't matter where a young person grows up, they're always getting that same education and they're all going to be at the same level. So just more of an observation than a question, but a very positive observation.
Thank you, Louise. It's really appreciate that observation, especially from you, so thank you very much. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps a strange question. Is there any funding benefits in being classified as a very remote rural school rather than an urban school?
It's if the rurality, any school that's classified as rural, and if it has a school roll less than 70, does have a financial contribution from the Scottish Government. It's based on a pot, a national pot of funding that's divvied up across all local authorities, so the value changes year on year, but there is a financial benefit to a rural school if it has a roll of less than 70.
Thank you.
So any other questions or comments? I don't see any, so we'll go to recommendations. So members are asked to note the contents of the report, 2, agree that further detail is included within the Learning Estate Strategy update to be brought to the November meeting for this committee, which clearly references considerations around rural school provision. And 3, consider if further areas should be added within the definition of rural education as set out in section 4. So we move to agenda item 10, members. We have statutory consultations, St Ninian's Roman Catholic Primary School. Louise Ray is here and Jonathan are here, both in the room, to assist if members have any questions. Do either of you have anything to add to the report?
I've got nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll open the meeting to members' debate. With any questions or comments? Oh, Anne Barber. Anne Barber, do you wish to ask a question?
I'm trying to unmute my mic.
No, you're loud and clear now, Anne.
Oh, thank you. Right. I've changed my computer and I don't know where all the buttons are. Sorry, good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Catholic Church, I'd just like to state that although we are disappointed whenever a Catholic school has to close, we do realise the intensive work that has been put into trying to keep St Ninian's open under very difficult circumstances, and I would just like to thank the Education Committee and the officers for all the hard work they've done, which has been done in a very friendly and efficient manner. And this is, I'm speaking on behalf of Bishop Dugan at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. I'm sure that is most appreciated by all those that have worked hard on that particular thing. So thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Councillor Walters.
Thanks for spotting me there, Chair. Just the one question about, I'm not sure whether this comes further down the process, but in the appendix there seems to be a lot of concern expressed about the access to the neighbouring school, Penningham. And so if we are looking to agree to the closure of the primary school, as in 2.3, is there somewhere where we can actually highlight the fact that if we do that, we will be able to take into account the effect it has on the neighbouring school if it's going to block 2 of the accesses? Is that something that we can incorporate into the recommendations? Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Walters. Louise?
Thank you, Councillor. Absolutely. We have a large school in Penningham Primary School, and we have to ensure that we maintain access routes. You know, we want to encourage children to walk, cycle to school, and we would hate to prohibit that into future. You're absolutely right. We need to get through today's committee. We then also have a call-in period where Scottish ministers do their due diligence before we make a final decision on what happens to the building and ultimately those access routes into Penningham Primary School. But we are aware of the concerns of parents and residents, and we will take those on board.
Thank you for that, Louise. I think we have to go through this process first, and then that's one of the considerations, but I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 different considerations to think about the future of this building. But thanks for raising that, Councillor Walters. Any other member questions? I'm taking a little bit of time in between asking that because sometimes there's a bit of a lapse on the chat function. So no more questions, that's fine. We'll go straight to the recommendations now. So members are asked to note the content of the consultation report on the outcome of the consultation relating to the proposal to discontinue education provision at St Ninian's Roman Catholic Primary School as detailed in paragraphs 4.2 to 4.8. Agree to realign the catchment area of St Ninian's Roman Catholic School to St Joseph's Roman Catholic Primary School as detailed in paragraph 4.10, and agree the closure of St Ninian's Roman Catholic Primary School having satisfied the requirements of the Schools Consultation Scotland Act 2010 as amended as detailed in 4.11. Thank you, members. So we go on to agenda item 11, the surplus property Hutton Primary School, report by Executive Director Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing. We have Louise again. Louise Ray and John Thin are here to assist if members have any questions. Do you have anything to add to the report?
Nothing further to add, Chair.
If I may, members, I'd like to jump in just first. It's maybe not customary to go to recommendations, but I'm very keen on, when we go to the recommendation 4, at the very end of that paragraph, it says we should now progress through the disposal process as tenuously as possible. Can I ask that we remove as tenuously as possible from that and just end it process? I'm aware that ward officers are working very extensively with community as well, and we kind of need to do this process just in the right time frame. And I understand why we put tenuously, but at the same time, I think it would make the community feel a little bit better if we were just making sure we do it at the right process. And so if we could take that out, that would be really grateful. Thank you. Do any members have any objection to that proposal of mine? Nope. Yeah. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. That was my first point. I was just going to say the exact same thing that you've just said, so thanks for that. I've just got a question at 3.3.1 on page 349 about the report going back to area committee. I'm just wondering, is that only to ask members to identify if any community groups may be interested in acquiring an asset? And then I would just, I have said this before, that when the team were consulting with the community to close the school, it was a really good, they did a really good job and managed to take the community along with them. But my concern is that the community have an opportunity to take on the building, but it takes some time to bring forward a business case for the likes of a CAT transfer. So although we're being asked to agree to the disposal process, I do think we need to have a bit of time to allow community groups to come forward with a business case. And I know I'm not meaning indefinitely, I mean like between 6 and 12 months. And I'm happy to move someone if I need to, but we know there is a stage 1 expression of interest in, and I have raised this whole process at Leaders Panel because I think we need to have a clear process and timeline going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And I think the removal of those last few words, as tenuously as possible, will assist with that. But I don't know if Louise or John have anything to add to that or comment.
Thank you, Chair. I think what we just need to highlight at this point in time is that this is education declaring the building surplus. There are clear processes hereafter, and I'll admit I'm not immensely au fait with those processes, but certainly colleagues in property, estates and programmes will take the process from here as for want of a better word, they are the landlord of our properties, so they will take that process forward. I know, as Councillor Wilson said, the community do have very clear plans, and I know our ward officers are working very closely with them to help them progress those plans. So yeah, absolutely in agreement. This is just us following due process for this committee to declare the building surplus to education.
Thank you, Louise. Are you content with that, Councillor Wilson? Is there anything you want to add or take away, anything you want to do, to the report that you feel would strengthen your feeling about the process and the timeline? Because I'm quite content that this will go at better, well, the proper rate. But then, if you wish to add anything, I'm really happy to hear it.
I think it's just a bit confusing, because we're declaring a surplus here because it's a school building, and then property and estates is probably under a different, that's under a different directorate, but I can take it up out with this meeting. But I think it's, you know, going forward, if we were to, you know, if we are declaring other schools surplus, I think we need to give the communities an opportunity to come forward, but give them time to do that. I don't know if I'm making sense. I know what I'm meaning, but I think if we're doing a really good job taking the community with us, I think we need to give them time to progress their own business plan, if that makes sense. Thank you.
That makes perfect sense, Councillor Wilson. We're all on the same page here, I think. So, yes, I mean, it's just being made surplus here. I think the next stage, as you said, is a different directorate. But if you would take this out with, that would be, it would be a good thing for the community to, you know, to further this. But I mean, I think this is just to be made surplus here. And yeah, no, thank you very much for your comments. We're all on the same page here. Councillor Dempster.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not surprised to most members that the process for disposal is quite convoluted, and area committees are asked only to agree on the people that might be consulted as part of the disposal process. What I would suggest to Councillor Wilson, if it will help, is that we, as an education authority, could request to the disposal team that a 6-month or 12-month delay on the disposal be attributed to any disposal to allow community groups to come forward. So we are not making any decision that would be wrong, but we are asking if such a time period could be allowed for, and that would be a request to the committee that determines the disposal, and that would be within our gift, Chair.
Yes, but then what would the timeline be? Would be my only question. Would the timeline that we suggest be sufficient? I mean, I think that's maybe something for the other directorate to come up with members in that particular one.
I think Councillor Olsen said between 6 and 12 months, which would seem to me to be reasonable. We can't have property sitting on our portfolio for an extremely long period of time. We've all had problems with derelict, well, me especially, with derelict schools in my town, my ward, for 20 years. We can't have that. But at the same time, I'm very keen in supporting community groups to develop initiatives within their own communities. And I think 6 to 12 months would be a reasonable request. It would be in the gift of someone else to decide whether that's right or no. But I'd certainly support Councillor Wilson in that approach. And it would simply be a request, nothing more from us, that a 6 to 12 month delay be applied before complete disposal was initiated. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Dempster. I'm just going to turn to governance. Trace, is this something within our gift? Is this a competent suggestion?
Thanks, Chair. I would suggest that as education's role in this is simply to declare the building as surplus to the education authorities' needs, then the next stage, like you say, is that it will go to area committee. We're already in area committee cycle at the moment for September, so I would imagine the report wouldn't go in front of area committee until the November meetings, and that's then just to ask members if they have any other groups that they wish to be consulted. So that process is already going to take another couple of months before we get to that stage, and then it will be for property services to then further engage with any community groups. So it is going to be a few months before it progresses anyway, and then at that stage, I think if members wished to delay it, whether there was no groups identified or not, it may be an opportunity for that committee to ask property services to delay at that stage. But I don't think it would be an education's gift to delay it at this stage when it's only to declare it as surplus to the next stage in the process. I hope that's helpful, Chair.
No, really. We're not asking to delay or not asking anyone to delay anything. It's simply a request. And at some stage before it goes to second and third stages, it will become apparent that this property is about to be disposed of by the council. And all I'm saying is it's a paragraph saying for whatever committee makes the determination at that stage can they consider a 6 to 12 month delay. It's just simply a request. Lauren's come along to try and help.
Do you wish to come in here, Lauren? So, but first, clarity, is this a request to whichever committee, then we'll work that out, or a request to property services?
It's a request to property services because in this Dale Area Committee will only determine sorry, it'll be Annandale and Eskdale likely. The area committee will only determine who might be interested, so that the committee can direct officers to contact all interested groups. That's the duty of the area committee. Then it'll either be finance, property and transformation, or it'll be a property services that will dispose of, and there will be a set of criteria that they have to apply. But we can request, and only request, whether it's considered, accepted or rejected, will be in the gift to someone else. It's just so that everyone who sees the decision of this committee will also see a request that, given the interest by the local community, given the stage 1 CAT transfer has been initiated already, or interest has been initiated already, it's just a support to the group that's been brought to this committee by a member of the committee. And I would certainly think we can do it, and I think we should do it. But it's in your gift, Chairman, no mine.
No, thank you. I'm going to let Lauren, I think Lauren's going to come before I let Councillor Wilson back in.
Thank you, Chair. I think just to try and help out the position on this one, the intent and the desire is to allow community groups and organisations an opportunity to consider the future for an asset that's within their area. As officers, we can certainly have discussions with the team that are responsible for the disposal process, which is a policy that's written in existence just now. Our involvement from an education perspective is to say that we have no further requirement for that asset. It then goes to the corporate landlord, which was within the gift of the Economy and Infrastructure Committee, and that's where Property and Estates report to. Their existing policy, as I say, we can discuss with officers there to see that there is that opportunity, that it doesn't go at such a pace that it's just instantly onto the market for disposal. It's got a gap to allow that voice to come forward from the community to say we've got an interest. We're not quite at the stage for the community asset transfer process, but we just want to gather a little bit of thought in the community. So we're, if that's acceptable for that to be recorded in the minute, we'll have those discussions with officers within the corporate disposal process and the policy that sits behind that, and just make sure that that is either already in that policy for that opportunity. If it's not, we'll express the desire through the committee process that we would look and support those changes to be made. Obviously, it will be at their discretion, but I think that hopefully takes us to a place that...
Thank you for that, Lauren. Are you happy with that? I'm going to bring Councillor
Yes, it's
Wilson
Councillor
in a
Wilson
minute.
that brought the matter to your attention, Chair. I just think that's a really helpful approach, and if we don't want to do things formally, Lauren has given an assurance, and officers given an assurance is always more than we need to make sure that that will happen. But it's Councillor Wilson that brought this to your attention.
Thank you, Councillor Dempsey, and thank you for that clarification, Lauren. Councillor Wilson, I'll bring you back in.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy with either of those as long as that's the direction of travel and we're allowing community groups enough time to bring something forward. So happy with either. I did prefer Councillor Dempster's suggestion, but happy with either. Thank you.
No, that's great, Councillor Wilson, but are you requiring it to be documented in this? So I think then would that make members feel a little bit, I don't know, a little bit better that it's documented as an action, yeah?
No, we don't need to. What you can simply record is that officers have undertaken to ensure the local community is considered when disposals taking place, or words to that effect.
You happy with that, Councillor Wilson?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, members. Any other questions or points to raise? Okay, we will go to recommendations. Members are asked to note that the Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing Directorate no longer has a requirement for Hutton Primary School. 2, note the 5 policy intent themes contained within the Council's disposal and acquisitions policy included as background papers to this report. Note the background history and current position regarding Hutton Primary School as detailed in paragraphs 4.1 to 4.3 within the report. Agree Hutton Primary School as noted at paragraphs 4.1 to 4.2 and shown in the appendix is surplus to the requirements of the Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing Directorate. and should now progress through the disposal process. End. So, thank you, members. So, item number 12, any other business deemed urgent by the Chair due to the need for a decision. I have no further business deemed urgent. So we move on to item 13, Local Government Act, Scotland Act 1973. Members, do you agree to adopt a resolution to exclude the public from the meeting in terms of section 50A(4) and paragraphs 4, 6 and 9 of Part 1 of Schedule 7A of the Local Government Scotland Act 1973?